According to Wikipedia, narcissism is a self-centered personality style characterized as having an excessive preoccupation with oneself and one's own needs, often at the expense of others. Narcissism is one of, if not the most infamous personality trait on the planet, and has also been on the rise in recent years, and as a result, it has been a hot topic in pop culture. One example of this personality trait is in a little guy from the Kingdom of Hallownest known as Zote the Mighty. Zote is one of the many NPCs you meet on your journey in the famous indie game Hollow Knight, and he symbolizes narcissism perfectly. I'm still working on Pantheon 5, so while we wait, I'm going to be breaking down Zote's psychology and why he is such a fascinating and well-written character. I'm also going to talk about why I believe that Zote's story is one of the most tragic in all of fiction. When we first meet Zote in Green Path, he's in a bit of a bind. As you can see here, our little buddy is being attacked by a Vengefly King. Now, stumbling upon a scene like this would fill the average person with empathy and compassion. According to Wikipedia, because Wikipedia knows everything, empathy is generally described as the ability to perceive another person's perspective, to understand, feel, and possibly share and respond to their experience. What the wiki is telling us here is that when we see Zote getting chewed up by a Vengefly, we start to feel as if we're being chewed up by a Vengefly ourselves. The best combatant to this feeling is to schmack that boy and let Zote fall flat on his face. Hooray! He's free! Look how happy he is! However, when we approach Zote after slaying his captor to further express our condolences, he unexpectedly crashes the frick out, claiming that we came between him and his prey. Here's a sample of his talk.
Know this, cur. I am Zote the Mighty, a knight of great renown. Cross me again and you'll find out why they call my weapon Life Ender.
You're not him, little bro. You're not the main character. However, this is not our final encounter with our little bug friend. Throughout our adventure, we constantly rescue him from sticky situation after sticky situation, sometimes literally, and every time he responds in the exact same way. This obviously poses a question. Why would someone act like this? Well, you know what they say. When in doubt, consult the wiki. It says here that one key symptom of narcissism is high self-esteem and a clear sense of uniqueness and superiority, with fantasies of success and power and lofty ambitions. This describes Zote perfectly. He believes himself to be in a place of high authority and is furious when put in a situation where he is made small or humbled in some way. We see this back in Exhibit A after rescuing him from the Vengefly. But this isn't the only symptom of narcissism. That's just the beginning of the rabbit hole. There are two main expressions of narcissism: grandiose narcissism and vulnerable narcissism. Grandiose narcissists, also known as high-functioning narcissists, have, just like Zote, a sense of high esteem and a self-centered belief of superiority. They also crave self-serving social dynamics and have exploitative tendencies. Vulnerable narcissism is a bit different, but we'll get to that a little later in the video. For now, let's talk about Breda. Breda is another NPC that we meet in the mystical land of Hallownest. We first meet her in the fungal wastes being influenced by the Radiance, and when we rescue her, she proceeds to totally simp out on us. If only that happened to me with girls in real life, too. But the reason Breda is important to this story is because she has a low attention span. Because when Zote returns and settles down in Dirtmouth, Breda Loker genuinely just switches up on us and simps on him instead. Not very nice. Breda becomes obsessed with Zote. She dreams about him, she writes weird fanfictions about him, and she even has a full-size body pillow of him in her room. That part is kinda sus.
We know what you are, Breda. You can't hide from us.
But here's the thing. Zote doesn't give a primal last bit's dookie fart about Breda. That's the saddest part. He just sees her as someone you can talk to about how great he is. This is pretty typical for narcissists. As I said before, they crave one-sided relationships and self-serving social dynamics. Now, do I believe that Zote is intentionally trying to emotionally manipulate Breda? No, probably not. He's much too stupid for that. But it's pretty clear that Zote doesn't respect Breda in the slightest. Narcissists don't really see other people as people at all. They can't understand others' feelings and emotions. They just see them as people who they can use to preserve their own image. Zote is no exception. In the farthest edge of the kingdom of Hallownest lies the edge of the kingdom of Hallownest, the kingdom's edge. On the highest, furthest edge of the kingdom of Hallownest, the kingdom's edge, lies a Colosseum filled with fools, known to many as the Colosseum of Fools, at the edge of the kingdom's edge. Trying to get to my minimal workout here. Most people who have played Hollow Knight have been to the Colosseum of Fools, so it needs no introduction, but I'll give it one anyway because my angst dad's parents are watching this. The Colosseum of Fools is an optional challenge for Hollow Knight players where you must fight through multiple waves of enemies. Many bugs go here to win glory, honor, and recognition, but are often killed by other warriors. This is why it is called the Colosseum of Fools. The reason it is important to the story is because one of these said bugs are, you guessed it, Zote the Mighty. In fact, in one section of the Colosseum, we actually get to fight him. Yes, finally it's time for him to prove himself and live up to his claims. And he sucks. Wow, who could have guessed? However, there's actually a very good reason I'm bringing this up. Because while writing the script, I actually found out something really, really interesting. Dream-nailing Zote during this fight will lead him to say,
I'll kill 1,000 more. Will that be enough, Father?
Wow. Zote didn't exactly strike me as the type to have daddy issues. This poses many questions for us to solve. Who was Zote's father? Did he have something to do with his desire to prove himself? Well, Zote actually has another piece of dialogue in the game in which he mentions his father. One of his famous 57 precepts is to beware the jealousy of fathers.
Fathers believe that because they created us, we must serve them and never exceed their capabilities.
Zote says,
If you wish to forge your own path, you must vanquish your father, or simply abandon him.
Now, I'm no theorist, but I feel as if this information needs to be pondered. Zote clearly does not have a good relationship with his father. It's clear that he feels the need to prove himself to him somehow. Zote's dialogue here seems to lead to the conclusion that he doesn't care about what his father thinks of him, but I don't think that's entirely true. Perhaps Zote's upbringing had something to do with his narcissistic tendencies. Speaking of which, remember how I talked about the two types of narcissism earlier in this video and I said we'd talk more about the second type later? Well, now is that later. That's right, back to the wiki. Vulnerable narcissism is paved by social withdrawal resulting from shame, distrust of others' intentions, and concerns over being accepted. Sound familiar? It almost exactly describes his potential relationship with his mysterious father. Yes, it is my belief that Zote shares tendencies of both grandiose and vulnerable narcissism. Zote sees himself as a victim of society. This describes his cold behavior and treatment of everyone around him. This is why I see him as such a tragic character. He looks down on his peers, but he also has a strong mistrust of everyone around him. Zote is doomed to be isolated from everyone forever. He will never be able to enjoy a laugh with a treasured friend. He will never be able to enjoy a win in Fortnite Battle Royale with the boys. He will never be able to enjoy anything. No matter how cold, rude, and mean Zote acts toward us, I can't help but feel bad for him. Zote the Mighty is a true victim of society. Not because he's cursed, but simply because he decided he is. Zote's true enemy isn't the people around him, but his own mind. And no matter how hard he pushes himself, that is the one rival he will never be able to defeat. That is the tragic tale of Zote the Mighty. Well, I guess that's it. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments, as well as any video ideas you'd want me to make or constructive criticism. And lastly, thank you so much for deciding to watch this. Just your click on this video means a ton to me. But I guess that's it. I'll see you guys next time.